The first line of the official transcript still echoed through the hall of the Galactic Council. Earth's biosphere is a statistical impossibility. Its continued existence violates every model of stellar and biological stability. That verdict was supposed to end the argument. A cold dismissal. But for Commander Elias Veyra, sitting in the rear chamber, it was a spark shoved into a powder keg. #### the Council's verdict. The chamber was a cathedral of alien authority, vaulted ceilings of crystalline alloy, banners of a dozen empires hanging in suffocating symmetry. At its center, the Speaker of the Council, an insect being named Archon Kryzek, raised its many arms with a gray spread from centuries of dominance. Earth, Kryzek rasped, is not a cradle of life. It is a fever dream, a chaos world. Its seas burn with acid storms. Its tectonics rupture cities. Its beasts are predators in the mathematical sense, designed for annihilation. No civilization should emerge from such ruin. Humanity, therefore, is a fluke. An error. The word cut through Elias like a blade. Error. He wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't even supposed to be there. But humanity had run out of diplomats who still believed the Council could be reasoned with. That left soldiers like him, scarred, blunt, inconvenient. Elias stood. His voice was gravel, worn by war. You call us impossible. But we call that survival. We're not asking for recognition, Archon. We're demanding it. A ripple of murmurs coursed through the alien delegates. Some hissed in disapproval, others tilted their heads in what might have been interest. Kryzek's mandibles clicked sharply. And what proof? Kryzek sneered. Does your feral species bring to this chamber? Elias opened the case he had carried across 5 star systems, its locks releasing with a hiss. Inside, contained within a stasis field, were samples. Soil, water, spores, and a vial of microscopic extremophiles dredged from a volcanic vent at the bottom of Earth's Pacific. Proof that we thrive where no one should. Proof that life on Earth does not yield, it adapts, claws, and endures. He stepped forward, eyes burning. You call our home impossible. That's because you've never fought to survive inside it. #### the protagonist revealed. Elias Veyra was 47. A veteran of the Europa blockades. A strategist who'd seen too many battles where humanity was the underdog. His scars told his story better than any dossier. Where others saw duty as a burden, he wore it like armor. His father had been buried in the irradiated wastes of old Chicago. His mother drowned when the coast collapsed. Survival wasn't an abstract word for him, it was carved into his bones. And survival was the one thing the Council could not ignore. #### tension ignites. The delegates stirred. A crystalline representative from the Zorath collective tapped its claws in irritation. Childish theatrics. Samples prove nothing. Any world spawns anomalies. Earth is not unique. Elias snapped his gaze toward it. You think a flower blooming in vacuum is an anomaly. Earth is a jungle of those flowers. Every inch of it tries to kill us. And yet we build cities. We split the atom. We reach for the stars. His words weren't polished. They weren't meant to be. They were knives thrown hard and fast. From the rear chamber, Dr. Mara Ilian, xenobiologist, ally, and the closest thing Elias had to family, leaned forward. Show them the strain, she urged under her breath. Elias keyed a command. The vial released a holographic projection of extremophiles devouring sulfur and thriving in temperatures that should shred proteins. The alien counselors shifted uncomfortably. These microbes weren't anomalies. They were proof of a biosphere born to fight entropy itself. Mara's voice carried this time, clear and sharp. You look at Earth and call it a death world. We call it home. What you dismiss as error is why humans adapt faster than your simulations predict. Why your war maps collapse when we improvise. Why every attempt to break us only hardens us. #### First clash. Archon Kryzek's carapace rattled, a sound that silenced the chamber. You parade your toxins and vermin as strength. But strength requires control. Humanity wields chaos, not discipline. You are not builders, you are saboteurs of order. That is why you cannot be trusted among the stars. The words landed heavy. For many counselors, they were confirmation of what they already believed. Elias felt the weight of centuries of alien disdain pressing down on him. But he didn't buckle. Order? Elias barked. We built order in hurricanes, under skies burning with radiation. We mastered fire when it tried to consume us. We mastered steel while famine gnawed at our throats. And when the void told us you will not pass, we burned our way through anyway. He stepped closer, voice low now, carrying the weight of every grave dug into Earth's soil. You think discipline is born in peace? No. Discipline is born when the world tries to kill you every second of every day. That's why humans don't bow. #### foreshadowing betrayal. From the shadows of the chamber, Admiral Zorath of the Galactic Dominion, the Council's most ruthless enforcer, watched Elias with the Predator's calm. His eyes glowed faintly, studying, calculating. He hadn't spoken yet, but Elias could feel the weight of his presence. Mara leaned closer. They're not going to listen, Elias. They'll call for sanctions again. Maybe worse. Elias' jaw tightened. Then we make them listen. Kryzek raised his arms once more. Enough. The Council will deliberate. Humanity will wait. And while you wait, you will not expand further into regulated sectors. Do so, and face annihilation. The words dripped finality. A verdict delivered before the trial. Elias closed the stasis case slowly, the click of the lock echoing louder than the Archon's decree. He knew then that humanity had not come to prove itself, they had walked into a rigged game. And in rigged games, only one strategy remained: break the table. ### the cliffhanger. As the session adjourned, Elias felt a tremor beneath the chamber floor. Subtle, almost imperceptible, but his instincts caught it. A vibration too regular to be tectonic. He exchanged a glance with Mara. That wasn't natural. Before she could reply, the chamber's lights flickered. A distant boom rolled through the station's hull. Council guards rushed to sealed exits. Panic spread among the delegates. And then, piercing through the alarms, a voice crackled across the comms in a language only Elias understood. Terran military code. Commander Veyra. They've found the samples. Extraction compromised. Orders? Elias' blood ran cold. Someone had betrayed them. And the council chamber, packed with humanity's enemies, was about to become a battlefield. The station shuddered like a beast caught in a snare. Lights guttered, throwing the council chamber into stripes of shadow and fire-red emergency glow. What had been a theater of debate became a cage of panic. Alien delegates shrieked in their native tongues, scrambling for exits that had already sealed. Guards raised weapons, unsure whether to protect or to purge. Elias Veyra's instincts overrode the chaos. He seized Mara's arm and pulled her behind the stasis case. Someone set us up, Mara hissed, her voice barely audible over the alarms. Not someone, Elias said grimly, scanning the chamber. Zorath. Across the floor, Admiral Zorath stood motionless, calm in the storm. His armor caught the emergency light in jagged edges, and his eyes fixed on Elias with predatory stillness. He hadn't ordered the alarms, Elias knew. He'd been waiting for them. ### the ambush. A section of the ceiling ruptured, spilling smoke and shards of alloy. Figures in sleek armor rappelled down, Valak shock troops. Their helmets gleamed, and their rifles swept the chamber like scythes. The first volley dropped a cluster of delegates in a hail of plasma. Council guards hesitated, torn between defending the chamber or shielding their own leaders. That hesitation killed them. The shock troops cut through with surgical precision. Mara ducked low, pulling a sidearm from beneath her coat. They're here for the samples. No, Elias growled, chambering his rifle. They're here for us. The case that carried Earth's proof had become bait. Humanity had been maneuvered into a trap, and now the jaws closed. ### close quarters. The first trooper advanced too fast, too confident. Elias rose from cover, fired once, and punched a hole through his visor. The soldier dropped, armor clattering on the crystalline floor. Mara cursed under her breath. They'll bury us here. Then we make it costly. Elias snapped, dragging her toward a fractured section of wall. Keep moving! They darted through smoke and bodies, Elias firing controlled bursts. His movements weren't reckless, they were deliberate, honed by decades of surviving when others didn't. Every shot was a message: we're not prey. Council delegates scattered, some clawing over one another to escape, others too shocked to move. Archon Kryzak shrieked commands, but his authority meant nothing with plasma bolts scorching the air. And still, Zorath watched. Not a commander directing troops, an executioner waiting for the last plea. ##### Zorath speaks. Elias and Mara ducked behind a shattered console as the troopers closed in. The emergency lights framed Zorath in crimson. Finally, he raised his voice, deep and deliberate. Humanity believes chaos is strength. But chaos burns brightest just before it consumes itself. Elias fired a burst at two advancing soldiers, dropping one. He snarled back. Funny! That's exactly what we say about tyrants. Zorath tilted his head slightly, as though cataloging Elias' defiance. You brought poison into this chamber. You call it proof. I call it contagion. Mara snapped. Those microbes are life. Stronger than your sterilized hives could imagine. Zorath ignored her. His gaze stayed fixed on Elias. When this chamber is ash, history will remember one thing: humanity died trying to prove it mattered. #### allies in the shadows. From the far side of the chamber, a sudden detonation rocked the floor. A flash of blue fire disoriented the shock troops, dropping two instantly. Figures emerged from the smoke, not council guards, not humans. A strike team of syndicate mercenaries, armor marked with crimson sigils, weapons custom forged. Their leader, a tall, masked figure, called out over the din. Veyra! Your debt is paid. Don't waste the gift! Elias grimaced. The syndicate weren't allies, they were opportunists. Months ago, he'd bartered away half a shipment of Terran antimatter cells for intel that saved a colony. He hadn't expected them to honor the deal. Yet here they were, carving through Valek soldiers with brutal efficiency. Mara glanced at him. Friends of yours? Not exactly. Elias fired another shot. But I'll take the help. The chamber devolved into three-sided war, council guards regaining courage, Valek shock troops pressing their assault, syndicate mercenaries hitting from the flank. And in the middle, Elias, Mara, and a stasis case that now felt heavier than an empire. #### the escape route. Elias knew they couldn't win here. The council chamber was a meat grinder. The only play was escape. He scanned the smoke-choked ceiling, spotted a ventilation shaft half-sheared by the explosion. There. Secondary conduits lead to the docking ring. Mara frowned. And if they don't? Then we improvise. Like always. They pushed toward the shaft, fighting through chaos. Plasma bolts seared the air. A syndicate mercenary fell in their path, armor smoking. Elias dragged him aside, returning fire until his rifle clicked empty. He swapped mags with practiced ease. Zorath's voice boomed through the chamber. Run, little human! But every corridor leads back to me. Elias ignored him. Fear was what Zorath fed on. He wouldn't give him the satisfaction. #### betrayal revealed. At the base of the shaft, Mara worked fast, her hands steady despite the chaos. She keyed her omni-tool, overriding the hatch's locks. The panel cracked open with a hiss. Just as they prepared to climb, a blast rocked the wall beside them. Elias turned, and froze. It wasn't a trooper firing. It was a human. Counselor Damon Hovel, Earth's appointed representative, stepped forward, sidearm raised. His face twisted with something between fear and fanaticism. You should never have brought the samples. Hovel spat. Do you know what they'll do when they see the truth? Earth will burn. I won't let you damn us. Mara's eyes widened. You sold us out? I saved us, Havel said, voice shaking but resolute. Better humanity kneel than be exterminated. Elias leveled his rifle at him, fury surging hot. You don't get to decide how we live, or how we die. Havel sneered. Someone has to. He squeezed the trigger. The shot never landed. Mara fired first, her bolt catching Havel square in the chest. He staggered, shock etched across his face, and collapsed. Elias stared down at the body, jaw clenched. Betrayal always cut deepest when it came from your own. Mara's voice cracked, low and pained. We need to move! Hashtag into the veins of the station. They hauled themselves into the shaft, metal groaning under their weight. Behind them, the chamber erupted into a storm of fire and screams. The conduits were narrow, suffocating, lit only by the flicker of emergency beacons. Elias crawled ahead, rifle slung across his back, the stasis case strapped tight. Every clang of his boots echoed like a signal to the hunters behind. Mara's breath came ragged. Do you think the Council will believe Zorath was behind it? No, Elias said bluntly. They'll blame us. That was the plan all along. Then what now? We show them Earth isn't impossible. We show them why they should be afraid. Hashtag the cliffhanger. They reached a junction. Through the grate, Elias saw the docking ring below, a stretch of hangars, ships in various states of readiness, crews scrambling under red alert. Freedom lay just beyond. He motioned to Mara, then began to pry the grate loose. A voice whispered through the comms, cold and unmistakable. Zorath. The hangar was a furnace of light and chaos. Sirens howled. Ships powered up, their engines glowing as crews scrambled under red alert. Council guards tried to impose order, but the storm of fear and violence sweeping through the station made order impossible. Elias Veyra landed hard, rolling to his feet with the stasis case strapped to him. Mara dropped beside him, weapon drawn, scanning for threats. Which one? She asked, eyes darting across rows of vessels. Elias didn't hesitate. The hauler. Big enough to hide us, ugly enough no one checks twice. They sprinted toward a battered cargo ship idling in the corner, its crew already scattering in panic. But before they could reach it, the hangar doors sealed with a thunderous slam. The air vibrated with the sound of locking bolts. And then came the voice. Run as far as you like, Commander. Admiral Zorath called, stepping through the smoke at the opposite end of the hangar. His shock troops flanked him, their rifles raised in perfect unison. But the hunt always ends here. Hashtag the final stand. Elias raised his rifle, forcing calm into his voice. You should have killed me back in the chamber, Zorath. Now I know what you fear. The alien's lip curled. Fear? Humanity mistakes desperation for strength. Your microbes, your poisons, your chaos, their curiosities, nothing more. The galaxy belongs to those who impose order. Mara fired first. Her bolt dropped one trooper instantly. The hangar erupted in gunfire, plasma streaks carving scars across the bulkheads. Elias dove behind a crate, returning fire in precise bursts. Every movement was deliberate, practiced. Zorath didn't flinch. He advanced slowly, his troops pressing the attack with mechanical discipline. Elias and Mara were pinned, boxed against the locked hangar doors. We're outnumbered, Mara muttered, swapping power cells. Elias' eyes blazed. Not outclassed. Hashtag humanity's proof. The stasis case hummed on his back, alive with the samples inside. Elias knew it wasn't just Earth's proof anymore. It was Earth's weapon. He yanked the case free, slammed it onto the crate, and keyed the release. A shimmer of containment energy flickered, then dissolved. The extremophiles spilled into the air as a cloud of glowing motes, microscopic, but resilient beyond comprehension. The Valek troopers froze. Their scanners shrieked warnings as their systems detected the unclassified organisms. A ripple of unease passed through their ranks. Mara's voice cut through the din, fierce and unyielding. You wanted to see Earth's truth? Look at it. Life that thrives in fire, eats poison, and multiplies under pressure. You can burn us, bury us, starve us, Earth always finds a way back. Elias added, voice like steel. And so do we. The microbes swirled into the recycled air, harmless to humans but corrosive to Valek bioarmor. One trooper screamed as his plating bubbled and collapsed. Another dropped his rifle, clawing at melting seals. Panic spread through their formation. Discipline shattered. Hashtag Zorath's rage. Zorath roared, a guttural sound that shook the hangar. He tore off his helmet, revealing a face carved from brutality itself, scars etched deep, eyes burning with unrelenting fury. You dare weaponize your filth against me? He thundered. Elias rose from cover, rifle leveled. It's not a weapon, Zorath. It's proof. Proof that nothing you build, nothing you command lasts forever. But we do. They charged each other in a collision that shook the deck. Elias slammed his shoulder into Zorath, barely shifting the massive alien. Zorath struck back, claws raking across Elias' chest plate, sparks flying. Mara fired to cover him, bolts hammering Zorath's side. The Admiral barely flinched. His strength was monstrous, every strike designed to crush bone and steel alike. Elias fought with desperation sharpened into precision. A knee to the gut, an elbow to the jaw, rifle but cracking against Zorath's skull. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Hashtag sacrifice. Zorath seized Elias by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. His voice was a hiss of triumph. You call yourselves survivors. But survival ends tonight. Elias' vision blurred. Pressure crushed his windpipe. He clawed at Zorath's grip, but strength alone wasn't enough. Mara screamed and charged, slamming her entire body into Zorath. The Admiral shifted just enough for Elias to rip free, gasping air. He rolled, snatched a fallen plasma blade, and drove it into Zorath's side. The alien bellowed in rage, swinging wildly. Mara was caught in the backhand. She hit the deck hard, her weapon skittering out of reach. Elias' heart lurched. He wanted to go to her, but Zorath loomed, blood pouring from the wound yet eyes alight with unbroken fury. Hashtag the decisive blow. Zorath lunged again, claws tearing at the deck. Elias sidestepped, driving the plasma blade deeper, twisting until the smell of scorched flesh filled the air. You can break our bones, Elias growled, forcing the blade upward. But you'll never break what makes us human. With a final surge, he shoved the blade into Zorath's throat. The alien choked, staggered, and collapsed in a thunderous crash. The remaining troopers, armor corroded by the extremophiles and morale shattered, fled into the hangar's smoke. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the hum of engines and Mara's ragged breathing. Hashtag aftermath. Elias dropped to his knees beside her. She was bruised, bleeding, but alive. She gave a weak smile. Told you, you improvise too much. He let out a short, pained laugh. And you keep saving me when I do. Alarm shifted tone, the hangar doors unlocking. Whether the council had intervened or systems were failing, Elias didn't care. Opportunity was opening. He helped Mara to her feet, and together they staggered toward the battered hauler. The ship's systems groaned awake as Elias slammed his hand against the controls. Engines flared. The hangar bay receded behind them. Through the viewport, Elias saw the council station shrinking, smoke pouring from its wounds. Hashtag the final word. As stars stretched into streaks with the jump to FTL, Mara leaned against the console, voice soft. What now? We've made enemies of the council, the Valek, even our own. Elias' gaze stayed fixed on the stars ahead. Then we show them the truth. Earth isn't impossible. It's inevitable. He let the words settle, a vow etched into the silence of space. We're humanity. And we don't vanish, we endure. The engines roared, carrying them into the void, not as fugitives but as heralds of a species the galaxy had tried, and failed, to dismiss. You can flee to the edges of the void, Commander. But remember, predators always find their prey. And when I reach Earth, I will not burn it. I will make it kneel. The grate gave way, and Elias dropped into the hangar. The hunt had only just begun.